A record number of sea turtles strand on Sandy Neck. The state's Environmental Protection Agency tours the West Barnstable shooting range. Plus, find out what board, committee, and A record number of sea turtles strand on Sandy Neck. The state's Environmental Protection Agency tours the West Barnstable shooting range. Plus, find out what board, committees, and commissions are meeting tonight. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Monday, December 8th, 2014. I'm Sarah Mannel. It was a wet and windy weekend, and the wind out of the north brought strong high tides to Sandy Neck. That stormy weather brought in 48 sea turtles. Sandy Neck staff, including Beach Park manager Nina Coleman, braved the cold to attempt to rescue those turtles.
We started seeing turtles coming in yesterday on the big tides. We're having some big astronomically high tides right now and a north wind, so that'll bring them in. We got 20 off the beach yesterday, and this morning we were out at dawn and we got another 47 plus a loggerhead, so that's 48. So we've already beat our record, our Sandy Neck record for turtles.
Coleman says the weather conditions contribute to those strandings.
Big tides, the big winds coming out of the north or northeast is going to push all those animals. They're you can see they're so cold that they're pretty much lifeless in the water. So they're going to act like debris. So when you have a lot of debris coming up on the beach, a lot of seaweed, a lot of foam, those are also the days you're going to get a lot of turtles. So that's what we're seeing right now.
And Coleman says the stranded sea turtles will be taken to a facility that will help rehabilitate them before they are eventually released.
Once they're at this point, they need to be rehabbed at the aquarium or a professional facility. So all of these animals, including the 1,000 that were taken off of other Cape beaches, are going either to the aquarium, which is probably being overwhelmed, or even being flown down south to be rehabbed at professional facilities, and then they'll be released down there. These waters are just far too cold. There's still questions about why it's such a banner year for these animals. I think that the dust has to settle a little bit. Mass Audubon is really involved with coordinating this whole project of getting the turtles off the beaches, the volunteers to get the turtles, getting them up to the aquarium. And I think that they're a little overwhelmed, and once everything settles down, people will start wondering and trying to figure out why this year was such a large year for turtle numbers.
Matt Darcy with the Wellfleet Bay Audubon Society says many of the turtles are pretty beat up when they are taken off the beach after stranding.
Yeah, well, if you imagine if you're boogie boarding in the ocean, if you imagine just the boogie board coming in without a person on it, that's often how these turtles come into the beach. And they're rough waves coming in. That's why they're coming in such high numbers. There's a lot of wind, and the waves are just crashing them on rocks a lot of times. And surprisingly, we might think, oh, the turtles are dead. Definitely, there's no way they're going to come back. And a lot of them look very dead. But it turns out actually they still often do quite well. They're very resilient. So we still want to hear about those turtles and make sure that they come into the facility so they can be warmed up slowly and they can get rehabbed.
Darcy says the rehabilitation process starts immediately after the turtles are taken off the beach.
Day one, when they come in, we bring them to 50 degrees. And then every day that they're at the aquarium, they go up 5 degrees from there. So if we had to hold them longer, there was a period where we were getting 100 plus turtles a day at the sanctuary. And during that time, we actually had turtles that had been there at the sanctuary for 3 days. So we were involved in setting up rooms at different temperatures and eventually getting them up to 70 degrees. And then volunteers would come in and swim them as well. So once they leave us, the veterinarians over at the aquarium, they'll give them fluids. They want to make sure they get IVs with electrolytes in them because these turtles are dehydrated and they haven't been eating as well. So you want to make sure they have some sugar as well. So they give them glucose in the IV as well. And they'll swim them, and that's really important to get their muscles moving and they can get some circulation going. But they actually won't feed them for a while because their digestive tracts have been totally evacuated. the Kemp's Ridley seems like they know that this event's coming, and they, just like a snapping turtle that would go into hibernation, they actually evacuate everything out of their system. So they're pretty impressive that way, and that's something that we've found out at the sanctuary based on the necropsies we've done. So when we get all the dead turtles, we look at how much fat content they have, what's in their stomachs, what they've been eating, and that gives us a better sense of the natural history life cycle of Kemp's Ridley, which is really important to understand in the rehab process as well.
Sandy Neck Beach Park manager Nina Coleman says that residents can help by keeping an eye out for stranded sea turtles.
This is a Kemp's Ridley. This is the rarest sea turtle in the world. There's a juvenile animal right here. They're going to get quite a bit larger, but this is basically the animal that people should be looking for on the beach. A lot of times they're upside down. Sarah, I'm going to make sure you get the underneath of this. So it almost looks like a shoe. It almost looks like a shoe or a piece of debris, this sort of white, pink, gray thing going on here. A lot of times they're just flopping around really and truly like a buoy on the water. They're going to be at the leading edge of the tide, so either in the water coming in or on that seaweed line. If folks find them, the best is to cover them with seaweed and stake the area with a buoy or something so that there's a marker for us as the professionals to go out and find them. We don't want people collecting these animals. We want them, done correctly. People want to warm them up. Warming them up is not a good idea. You can see that we're in here for a reason. It's cool in here. We don't want these animals to warm up too quickly. That will reduce the probability of them surviving. So folks find them on the beach, covering them seaweed will keep the elements, like frostbite from happening, staking the area, and then calling Mass Audubon. Go look down the beach for, a big red buoy and the turtles right there. That's the best way for people to do it, and we really do appreciate if people go out and look. You have to go out on the really bad days, but us crazy turtle people, that's what we do, and you want to go out when it's really stormy and right after the high tide and look for these guys, and it's thrilling. It's thrilling to find them.
Coleman says Sandy Neck staff will be out and about again tomorrow morning looking for more stranded turtles, which she expects in high numbers due to another predicted nor'easter. A public comment period is now open on the environmental notification form filed to the Massachusetts Environmental Protection Agency by the town in regards to the West Barnstable shooting range. Last week, NEPA officials toured the shooting range and a parcel of land on Breeds Hill Road. Assistant Town Manager Mark Ells explains the purpose of the visit.
The Secretary of the Environmental Affairs had made a determination that a environmental notification form was needed to be filed before the land swap that's associated with reopening the shooting range could occur. And there was it was a discretionary referral, meaning that they could determine whether they needed it. Sometimes you just absolutely, you've exceeded the threshold and therefore you have to file. Because there was a transfer of interest in land relevant to the conservation lands where the shooting range is located, that determination was made. So what they do as part of that process, besides filling out a lot of paperwork, relevant to whatever the particular issue is, they come down, they meet in the community, they hold a public meeting, and then they go to the respective site, or in this case sites, and do a site visit and look at the project. They take that information back to, they're located in Boston, to their offices, they review it, and then ultimately after public comment is compiled, which is due by December 15th.
You can find details on the environmental notification form online at town.barnstable.ma.us. The Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee meets tonight at 7 in the Growth Management Conference Room. The school committee also meets at 7. That meeting will be held in the Town Hall hearing room. The Sandy Neck Board will also meet tonight. They will be meeting at 7:30 in the Selectmen's Conference Room. Well, be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will chat with Police Chief Paul McDonald, DPW Director Dan Santos, plus we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.